In a few short years, Honor has gone from being a completely unknown brand to producing some of the most interesting and disruptive mid-range Android devices. For those in the know, that's no surprise. Hiding behind the marketing materials is a giant of telecoms. Honor is a division of Chinese manufacturer Huawei, themselves known for making very powerful and well-received smartphones. The Honor parent brand aims at flagship specifications and prices. The name competes with the likes of Samsung, LG and Sony. The Honor brand is a little less mainstream. Many will have only seen it crop up recently in lists of affordable yet surprisingly feature-filled phones. With its own resources and separate marketing, Honor has succeeded in this space where cheaper Huawei branded phones may have not. The Honor 8 takes this concept to its logical extreme. It's a flagship level phone in everything but price. As soon as you hold the Honor 8, you realise that this is a premium piece of kit. To be fair, Honor have manufactured some very pretty looking entry-level phones, so it's no surprise that their high-end offering is very slick indeed. My initial response to the design was that it was very iPhone-like. I've got no doubts that this was intentional. When we look at the UI later, you'll see why. Now, of course, Apple is the king of technological beauty to many. Some consider the phones coming out of Cupertino as more fashion statement than technology these days. If you're going to be inspired, then do so by the best, I suppose. The edges of the Honor 8 have a metallic trim with antenna lines and similar speaker holes. The backplate of the phone, though, has a wonderfully glossy finish which reflects light beautifully. In this aspect, it's more of a Samsung Galaxy look. On that back panel, you'll find a circular rear-mounted fingerprint sensor and smart key. This sensor/button has a matte finish, contrasting with the rest of the glossy panel. I like that effect, although some may have preferred a seamless rear. That said, if Honor had put a circular fingerprint sensor on the phone's front, I think a lawyer or two may have got involved. In the short time I've used the Honor 8, it manages to avoid being a scratch magnet, but not a grease one. Honor tell me the glass is manufactured from 15 layers. This accounts for the glossy sheen and eye-catching light trap. Whether or not the top layer is a Gorilla Glass derivative or similar toughened glass, I don't know, but it's definitely scratch resistant. To the touch, it feels more plastic-like than other glasses. Overall, this is a stylish look and well worth the £370 RRP. The Honor 8 certainly doesn't look out of place against those that cost £100 or more extra. Earlier, I said the Honor 8 was a flagship in all but price. Well, a quick shoot down the specs explains that. We have a 5.2-inch 1080 display, an octa-core processor. This is Huawei's Kirin 950 processor, 4 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage, SD card support. We've got the dual-purpose fingerprint scanner and key, 12 megapixel dual cameras, more on those later, an 8 megapixel front camera, noise cancellation, infrared blaster, USB-C, it ticks every box. With all of that going on, the Honor 8 can stand up to a Galaxy S7 and walk away. Now, specs aren't the be-all and end-all of modern phones, but they do still need talking about. The octa-core Kirin 950 processor. Now, some may say they want a Qualcomm in the top phone. Spec nerds, though, we know that HiSilicon, who make these processors, is fully owned by Huawei, so it's a similar approach to Samsung, where who use Exynos processors. The vertical integration allows for cost savings. HiSilicon also licensed the newest ARM technology. Coupled with 4 gigs of RAM, the Honor 8 is a powerful, top-level device capable of heavy multitasking and 3D games. I'm yet to experience any lag, glitches or hanging. Onto the hardware. Now, the screen is the window to a smartphone, and 5.2 inches seems to be the size that many flagships have settled around. Full HD display on the Honor 8 has a wide range of brightness, it adapts quickly to changes, and the colour palette is also varied. The stock image gallery pictures on the phone show a lovely depth of colour. 7 precision drilled holes make up a neat looking speaker grille. These cover a single bottom mounted speaker, and that delivers an alright amount of noise. A single speaker setup is never going to be as loud or as deep as a front facing stereo one. Of course, there's a compromise to be had in having a clean look on the front fascia of the device. That said, the headphone experience is very good. I felt a well-rounded and loud sound when going through my favourite tracks. Everything feels well built, there's no creakiness to the manufacturing, squeezing the body doesn't produce odd noises and squeaks like some other cheaper phones. Even the slimline power and volume bottles have plenty of click and travel with no wobble. This continues to the rear-mounted smart key and fingerprint sensor. This has a satisfying click motion and recognises the differences between a tap or a long press every time. The sensor is very fast to recognise saved fingerprints as well. On a tout that is 0.4 seconds. I can't time that, but I couldn't possibly call it slow by any means. Very rarely did it fail to register, and even then it was more likely due to me giving it half a fingerprint from poor positioning. More software than hardware, the sensor can also be set up in the settings for more advanced actions. You can swipe down on the sensor to bring down the notification shade, double tap it to clear notifications, you can have it respond when you're going through the image gallery, swiping left and right, you can tap and hold to answer calls or switch off alarms. All of that is possible from that one single button and its fingerprint sensor. You also don't need to have an enrolled fingerprint to use those extra features. They're just a sensor that feel the finger go past. Now, as mentioned in other Honor and Huawei reviews, the Emotion UI, EMUI skin is a bit chalk and cheese. Android diehards probably won't like it at all. It's very far removed from Android stock, going so far as to completely remove the app drawer. This makes all installed apps appear on the home screen, although they can be put in folders. The other kicker is the stock skin theme. Similar to the physical design, it's very clear that Huawei got inspiration from Apple. You've got rounded app icons, a similar flat pastel iconography, even the system messages pop up in a light grey bubble with rounded corners and a very familiar looking font. Can't knock this too harshly though. Imitation of the supposed best is a big factor in some design philosophies. First you capture with familiarity, and then you win over with added value. The clean Apple-inspired layout is undoubtedly simple to navigate. The prevalence in the world of Apple's design and branding does indeed breed that familiarity, whether you like it or not. Now, once you start to delve a little deeper into the EMUI, you discover customization options and themes. Easy personalization has supposedly always been a major differentiator between iOS and Android, and here we can see that. All the standard Android customization settings are available. Extras include some modifications to the notification bar and shade. The navigation bar can also be customized. You can add a floating navigation bar that sits on top of all the UI like a Facebook Messenger head. Something I really like is the screen temperature picker. You can select the UI tint from a full colour wheel. This has two benefits. The first is it's a bit of an accessibility win. Adjusting the warmth to your liking can make things a lot easier on the eyes. The second is battery saving. Swapping from the standard cold white-blue light to a warmer yellow or green hue reduces the overall power consumption considerably. Also, there's a toggle in the audio settings to allow for DTS enhancement. With it on, there's a noticeable bass boost, and I recognised higher pitched lyrics and tones were cleared up on some of the tracks that I listened to. DTS is on by default, and I doubt many will ever see the setting, let alone compare the differences, but it is certainly doing something. I'm sure though if you turn it off you might see a slight performance improvement if audio isn't the be all and end all for what you do. On to the Emotion UI themes, they're a little half-baked. What I'd really like to be able to do is fine-tune system icons, download new packages from a central source, and completely change the look and feel of the device quickly. That's something I do regularly on, say, Cyanogen OS devices like the Wiley Fox range. Sony phones also have a powerful yet underutilized theme engine. Now, Huawei and Honor do give you a themes application. Frustratingly, there's only 4 themes on there and they're all pretty much the same, just different colour palettes. Worse, there's no link to get any more. Now, I'm certain previous Huawei phones I've used had a whole storefront of themes that you could pick from. So what you have to do on the Honor is manually download Huawei theme packages, that's HWT packages, from various websites. You move them into the themes folder and install them. Kicker being that a lot of these sites are kind of shady looking pages on the web with pop-up ads and they're not one central source given to you by Huawei or Honor to get these. There is though a decent community on Google Plus where you can find things quite nicely. It's not a difficult procedure to install these, however, in the mobile world, it's more difficult than it should be. It also takes the user out of the Huawei Honor ecosystem. The Themes app really should link to a store. You should be able to browse that store, simply push a button, see a result, and I'm sure Honor and Huawei could make some money from selling premium themes as well. Another argument, it's also not explained that you can install more themes. You have these 4 to pick for, but there's no explanation anywhere in the system or manuals that you can go and find these files and packages and install them. So the majority of owners probably won't even know that this powerful theme engine exists. I mean, why include one if you're going to cripple it? Anyway, hopefully Honor update the 8 with an app or a link to some new storefronts. I feel this kind of neat customization, while it is admittedly a fun distraction, allows people to personalise and enjoy their phones a lot more. This is where things start to get really interesting. With this physical design, spec sheet and price, the Honor 8 is already a winner in my books. properly delivering a dual camera system though tips this from a potentially very good phone to near must-buy territory. It's been cribbed from the Huawei P9, which is a great phone in its own right. Now, the dual camera setup is about to be popularised by Apple's iPhone 7 Plus. Oddly for Apple though, they won't really be capitalising on everything at launch, with certain features not being available. In comparison, the Honor 8 shows off more than just a simple party trick. There's a whole magic set on show for anyone who dives into the camera features. The pre-capture filters are all available to show off several artistic features. Now, the second camera on the Honor 8 is actually a monochrome black and white. So within these filters, you can pick a black and white option. And that black and white option isn't just a filter, you are using a black and white camera by itself. And we've managed to capture some really good results with that. And the second thing you can do with the two cameras is perform some software-based aperture adjustment. This lets you adjust the depth of field on the fly. Now, it can only be done on the auto mode, you can't use it on the pro mode and then start messing around with exposure and white balance, so it's only available in the auto mode. But by using it, you have a shutter icon which you can drag around the screen, and that sets the focal point, just like a normal touch focus. You then have a vertical slider which you move up and down, which provides a visual representation of the aperture opening and closing. According to the software, that effect is akin from moving between f16 down to f0.95. Now, you'll have to take that with a pinch of salt. The software reproduction of this does make a notable difference, and the visual effect is very interesting to watch, but at the extremes, the software can overcompensate, resulting in too much blur around the edges and not properly focusing exactly where you want it. Still, it's a very neat feature to have. Also, the other reason for the second sensor is for more overall light capture. This gives the image processing software more to work with when it comes to creating dynamic, contrast-heavy shots. Sat next to a new Galaxy or iPhone, you probably could pick apart the differences and say that it's not quite as good. Perhaps there's a touch more grain and noise in the final shots from the Honor, not present in the absolute best of mobile photography. However, we're talking photo nerd levels of difference here, and anyone getting the Honor 8 for its good value for money will be highly impressed with the pictures that it can take. In conclusion, in the current age of smartphones, a checklist of features isn't everything anymore. The dust is settling on the specification war as we reach a point of diminishing returns on just how powerful a smartphone can be. And that's before we look at how powerful we need a smartphone to be. It takes a device such as this to make you think again about the big name brands. Industry fans can claim to always desire more: bigger screens, faster processors, super fast charging, 2-day batteries, but at what cost? What literal monetary cost? Many of us are willing to spend $500 at least once a year. Some new Apple fans will be spending over £900 on a smartphone by the end of this week. Chew on that, over £900 on a smartphone. Now, of course, everyone has a budget, and for some, the purchase means as much as the product. If it makes you feel good to spend that money, then more power to you. However, if you value, then an Honor 8 is an excellent example of such. It shows that great specifications don't have to mean huge price tags. A look at the rest of Honor's products might also make you realise just how far a lower budget can stretch. You could easily miss the Honor 8 when creating a shortlist of flagship phones to choose from. Even if you just filtered recent releases by price, it might disappear under a pile of more expensive but frankly inferior phones. Hopefully that won't happen though. The Honor 8 deserves a mention next to anything released by Samsung, Sony, LG or Apple. I can't call the Honor 8 perfect, no phone is. However, I'll be more than happy playing with one for plenty longer.